Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Are we live? Hey guys, can you type in the chat? I'm gonna check it out also on my phone. Hi. Yes. Hello. Hello everyone. How are you today? We are going to spend very fruitful hour together. Can you just shout out where are you connecting from? Where do we have people? I will try to make some kind of double sound. So you hear double sound. Can you say if there's a problem with sound? Italy. We have Anna from Italy. We have Vladimir from Israel. We have Paul from Chicago, Pakistan. Hello. Hello, Mikhail from Ukraine. Hello, Foris from Greece. Hello, Joseph. Joseph. Yeah, you want to see the webinar again? Joseph, nice to see you again. Canada. No sound problems. Thanks. Germany. Ramesh from USA. Okay, guys, that's amazing that we have so many people here. And let's just start because time is precious. If somebody is late, that's not our problem. You are here on time, so I'm just gonna head over to the presentation. So now, please confirm that you can see the first slide with role-based auth in Angular and Node. Free workshop. I'm gonna look at the phone. Yes, seeing the first slide. +1, +1. Wow, France, Portugal, guys. Yes, amazing. So, +1, over 100 people online. So, Matt, Payne, yep. Great. So, I'm switching my tab. So, officially, I would like to welcome you at this webinar. We're going to spend at least 1 hour together. And we're going to see how we can design and implement role-based authentication and authorization in Angular and Node as a full stack solution. So I can see that on the phone, that double checking that everything is okay. So the plan for today, we're going to first discuss the case of role-based application, how we actually can look at domain modeling for multi-user account system, because what we want to do is to have a single account and multiple users attached to this account with the different permissions. Managing those permissions, designing a secure REST API for roles, introducing UserAuth object, leveraging router guards, HTTP interceptors, and middlewares. We are going to see how we can easily create conditional components visibility in Angular. Some bonus module, failed login throttling, because we are focusing on security. Then we will see a real life demo. And I will talk a little bit about Web Security Academy program. We will have also a competition to win this cup. I promised you. Maybe I will switch a little bit now the screen so that you can see we have a giveaway. This Ninja Security Cup. So we have a couple of them actually to give away. And I told you that I came up with the idea with the Instagram, with an Instagram competition. So guys, if you go to my Instagram, I'm not an Instagram guy. I have just like over 100 followers, so I'm not the Instagram guy, but I just wanted to make fun a little bit. And so if you guys go to instagram.com/bartosz_io, follow my account and like the first post, the most up-to-date post with this cup, and tag one of your friends. I'm gonna pick a winner and I will ship this cup to the winner, supposingly that you give me your shipping address. So go to Instagram, find the first most recent image or picture. I'm not an Instagram guy. Follow my account and tag your friend in this picture, and there is going to be a lucky winner who would receive this cup for free, shipped directly to that person who wins. Oh, we have a few people who want to get the cup. So basically, it's just, I'm not an Instagram guy. I don't know how to do this stuff. You will see I have a little bit more than 100 followers. But if you follow me, if you tag your friend in the image and like the image, we are going to pick a winner who receives this cup for free. Okay. So the competition is happening during this webinar. We are back. To the presentation. And yes, we'll pick a winner and we will have a Q&A session. So yeah, just a reminder, you have to stay till the end to win the cup because we'll pick the winner live. Before we talk about the contents of this presentation, for those who have not met me before, my name is Bartosz Pietrucha. I'm a Web Security Academy founder and Dev Academy founder. I started my online presence with Angular Academy, but now since I want to focus more on more generic content, Angular Academy was migrated to Dev Academy. I hold a master's degree in computer science. Back in the days when it was possible, I was speaking at conferences like Angular App, NGY Kings, NG Columbia, JSConf. I was working for many years in the different companies like Credit Suisse, UBS, F-Secure, Technotree, building software, enterprise software. And since a couple of years, I was teaching hundreds of developers via different workshops, meetups, and conferences. So I'm not saying it to brag. I'm saying it just to get a little bit of authority in your eyes, to make this impression that this is the guy that is worth to listen to if you spend this time with me. So hopefully I will be able to teach you something. Now switching the slide. Couple of pictures from the past, some Angular workshops, some conferences, some meetups, just to give it a proof. And the final proof, maybe just to get this a little bit of authority, is if you type my name, Bartosz Pietrucha, on Google videos, you would find a bunch of conferences, talks recorded over the couple of last years when I was sharing my knowledge and experience on the different conferences or events. So that's it. I hope that I get a little bit of the proof that I'm the guy who knows a little bit of stuff to share it tonight with you, or today, especially depending on where you are located. So we start from the simple concepts. We need to, the goal is to start with the simple concepts on the high level and dive deeper and deeper into more, hands-on, in more detailed implementation to see different perspectives. By the way, if you just give it a like to this video, I would be happy because YouTube would distribute this live and more people will join. So if you don't mind, just give it a like. That would be nice if YouTube sees that this is a nice meeting and more people will join. So introducing those concepts, when we talk about authentication in IT systems, we would like to prove one's identity, whether if it's with login and password or iris scan or fingerprint scan on any, or maybe one-time password. In IT system, we want to prove our identity or once a user wants to use the system, the user proves his identity. And then there is a process of authorization. The system says, okay, I know who that person is. And now we need to determine if there is a proper permission to execute some action in this system. So how usually it looks when we think about web applications, we have Angular on the front end and Node on the back end, but those concepts are fairly general. You can implement it in mostly technologies, but Angular is our implementation example here. So basically, let's look at our diagram. We have Mike, who is the owner of our multi-user account, and we have Paul, who is just a reader. We can assume that he has less rights or permissions than Mike, who is the owner of the account. And they both authenticate. In our system, it's login and password, but as I said, authentication may happen with one-time password, fingerprint scan, iris scan, whatever. And in our setup, we have single-page application on the front end and some backend API. After that, when they want to authenticate, they're going to be presented different UIs. We can assume that the owner would see different buttons and the reader would see different buttons. For example, for modification or other more features, right? Now, the first step, they interact with the UI, right? So this is like the front-end part. They interact with the UI based on that interfaces that they were presented. But the thing is that the next step is that single-page application, as it will hide and show parts of the UI, maybe also with lazy load parts that are not supposed to be seen by some of the users. When executing a request to the backend, would need to attach session ID or auth token in the cookie or HTTP header in order to allow API backend to authorize or not those incoming requests. So this is our landscape. This is what we want to see on this big picture. This is the screenshot for our demo application. I will also give you the links to the GitHub when you have the full source code of the whole application. But here you can see the example that we have the Chrome DevTools, and there is some request going, and there we see in the header authorization bearer with some string. This is our token here. So this is the way, one of the ways to be able to attach something that the server would use to first authenticate and then authorize those requests. Okay, before we jump into the next part, maybe some small reality check. I will look at the comments and see if we all are on the same page. And if we can continue, just give me +1 or thumb up. I have some delay. I will look at Instagram, and here in the chat, I will see your +1. Then I would assume that we can continue. Give me +1 if we can continue. Yes, I can see +1. I can see +1. That's great. So the next idea is domain modeling for multi-user account system. So we know this high level. We see this high level. We have some idea of what is this all about. But how do we model our domain for this multi-user account, that there are some entities and we want to restrict the permissions? So we will have our central point, which is an account with the given ID, so that it is identifiable. And then we can attach multiple users with their own ID and account ID that points to the account that they are attached to, and their login and their role. In our simple example, we have owner and reader. And on the right side here, you can see entity. This entity may be anything in your system. In our application, it would be expense, budget, or category that is attached to the given account. But most importantly, it has to have the ID and account ID that is allowing this entity to be attached to the given account. In this approach, we can achieve the idea that was presented previously, that we have multi-user accounts, so that there are multiple users with a given account, and this account holds some entities. A small trick: if you are guys Angular and Node developers, there is a nice trick when you use TypeScript, that you can share a single domain object, simple domain class, in your front end, in your backend. Because when I was working as a Java developer, this was always a pain to sync the domain models between front end. That was totally separate application. In the backend, every single property change requires synchronization. But if you use Angular, when you use TypeScript and Node, you can put your models, for example, in our case, account model, account TS, budget TS, user TS, expense TS, and have them physically in Node application, but use TypeScript path to point to this place where those models are living with paths, and then use models, and then use this relative path. And then once you do this in Angular, on the bottom you see you could import, for example, budget summary from here. There is this. Here's models / budget summary. Probably there is some overlay here, but it's written here models / budget summary, because it will trying to look under models / and look for budget summary. And this way, when you have those backend application, it will own these files, but once you build Angular, it will pull those files and include in the build. So you would be able not to have done them like literally duplicated during the development, but only in one place during the development, and during the production build, they will be pulled by TypeScript. So I find it a nice trick in this concept. Let me know if you like this idea with the plus, or you knew about it, or didn't knew about it. Just I will look at the comments and maybe reply later on if it's in the flow of this presentation. But for now, we continue. We have a lot of to cover and very little time. The question is now, we see the high level picture, we see the domain model. Now, how we actually, from the logical perspective, want to manage those permissions. So here, I want to ask you a couple of questions. When we, as the designers or architectures of this application, would need to answer. Here we assume that the user is authenticated. Now we are in this process of authorization. And the question is, does the entity belong to the user account? Does the user have the proper role? Are there any other rules in our permission, like policy? We have comments. Looks nice, but I didn't work with Node. +1. Sounds good. Where we store the data? Great. We will have a whole bunch of questions and a very long time for Q&A session. I just want to convey as much value right now, and then we will come back to the questions. And let's start with the first question. Does the entity belong to the user account? So we have a user, we have the account, and we have Facebook post or budget or like expense in our case. And from this like logical point of view, if a user has ID A and the account ID B, request an entity belonging to account with account C, only if B equals C, we will respond with HTTP OK, sending the entity, else HTTP unauthorized, right? Because anybody can craft HTTP request with any front-end client. Our Angular application or React application can be totally compromised, and we can craft our requests in any way. So on the backend, we need to check if ID from the user and account ID B actually equals C, so that there is this link. This is the user who is actually linked to this account, because we can craft the request trying to maybe read, maybe manipulate somebody else's account's entity. Our backend must take into consideration this case, right? So this is one of those vectors of authorization. We are going to be checking it on the backend with proper checks. The second question is, does the user have a reader or owner role? Let's assume that the reader can only read, owner can create, read, update, or delete. We don't want to make it possible for the reader to delete some entity, right? For example, delete a budget in the budget application or an expense. So there's a coming request. We are talking about the backend perspective, right? So how do we, what are in general those vectors of authorization in our case? And if the user has role X, but requests to edit the entity, so in our case, the idea is, okay, if X equals owner, then we say HTTP OK. We authorize this request because this is assumption that this is authenticated. Now we need to authorize, and then we send HTTP OK to the front end. In other case, if those roles check is not fulfilled, then we say HTTP unauthorized from the backend perspective. Yeah, it's an authorization. I told you that Claudio says this looks more like an authorization. So we assume here that this is coming from the request who is authenticated. So we talk about vectors of authorization. Are there any other rules? Can you come up with the idea, for example, when you can share those entities between accounts? For example, a user can request entities belonging to another user accounts, like in blog posts or Facebook, you can read someone else's post. You can like someone else's comment. So this is yet another consideration when we will be implementing this, when we will be implementing those checks against vectors of authorization, what we need to think about in order to make it secure. The next idea is about designing a secure REST API for roles, having in mind all those ideas. Because not every time we want to require this authorization. So when can we not require? For example, when we want to log in or sign up, right? So what I can propose to you is to have those distinct parts of your application reflected in REST API design to make it easier to maintain. So for example, let's look at the left side when we will not require this authorization checks. api.com/auth login or auth signup. So everything that is in auth, we know that this requires this first step of authentication, and we will not require to check additional authorization. But on the other side, api.com/app would be our place where we would place everything that we would like to secure that requires authorized requests. Let's call it a danger zone, right? So on the bottom you see app.api.com/app/wildcard. So here you can see get, put, delete, app, entity, and ID. So here we would definitely, everything after app would require our guards, our checks to be fired. But on the left side, you see those parts which we not need to have this authorization logic fired. The next idea that would fit as a puzzle in this whole landscape is UserAuth object. I see that there are some questions regarding the roles, if it's in JWT or if it's in the different place. It depends which mechanism you use. So if you use session cookies, this role would live on the backend, but would be conveyed back to the front end in so-called UserAuth object. But if you use JSON Web Token, it might be conveyed inside of this token, right? So depending on the mechanism, we will see also what are those differences. But for example, when you use cookies, you would give back this UserAuth object to the front end so that it would adapt to see to hide or show particular UI elements. But if you use token, it may be baked in the token. And what it will be this thing? It may be a role, right? Actually, in our case, it must be a role and the user ID, so that the front end would actually adapt. Here, for example, for the Paul, who is just a reader, we would model those things, maybe in the user auth object, maybe in auth token, if we use, for example, JSON tokens, because we have different many tokens. But if we don't have this token, we would just create this object on the backend and send back to the frontend. So yes, and probably maybe just leave your comments, please, and I promise I would answer all of them during the Q&A session. I don't want to just break the flow. And depending on the mechanism, server will start a session when we think about stateful approach or generate a stateless token, as I explained just a second ago. So we see more and more of our landscape. Now let's drive a little bit towards frontend. We use Angular on this frontend. So how we can protect Angular routes from unauthorized viewing, right? So we know this role. We conveyed it either in the token, either in the user auth object, and frontend application knows actually that this is, for example, the reader. So we can use as simply as router guards to, depending on the URL, load proper components, right? So for example, when you have login, then we'll render login component thanks to proper routing configuration. But then once the user logs in, for example, the application shows app entities. By the way, on the front end, we can use exactly same pattern for this URLs for the secured part that requires, for example, in this case, router guards, which are just the UI part, which is not any guarantee of security in our application. I will explain you why later on. But we can have this app and /entities, and the application would render entities. And we can have those guards that would check, for example, can we activate this route and render this component based on this knowledge that was conveyed inside this user auth object, for example, a role. And even if user manually types this protected URL, this should work if we properly use router guards in Angular. And here's the thing. Frontend can always be read by downloading and inspecting those JS files. And you have to always assume that frontend is compromised, because I can take any client and craft the request and totally bypass the frontend part, right? So if you want to present some sensitive data, for example, like sensitive data list inside of the dropdown, it's not enough to hide it behind the router guard. You have to secure it behind the secured API that requires authorization, right? For example, you can select options can easily be read even if you use router guard, because I can download this package and inspect the contents. So you need to require proper checks on the backend and hide those sensitive data. So router guards are cool, but they are not any means of securing the application. So just a small intro how we use routing. In app routing module, we can have our login part and this app part. And then we use can activate, can load, app guard. And we have this layout component that has children, but we have only one app guard on the top of this app danger zone, the secured part. Then we have a bunch of application related components. But if we use layout component on app path and then use proper guards, then we don't have to worry about them in more low level components that are used as children to this route, right? And this auth guard, in order to know if the particular component or route can be loaded, can just call auth service and ask is logged in, because in this case we don't check the because auth guard is going to determine. Let's go back for a second. We have the login path, which is guarded by auth guard, because if we are logged in already, we probably don't want to show the login page again, and we would like to redirect back to some default view. So for example, we can check if we are logged in, then we are navigating. If somebody actually tries to go to the login page, being logged in, we would navigate him to initial page, right? It may be some dashboard or whatever. If we have then other case, we would just reply, hey, you can show this path only if, and we have the negation here, not is logged in from our service. And this UpGuard would have totally opposite condition. For example, we also use can load to not lazy load those parts that would probably not be, could have not been authorized to be load. So in can activate, we just wrote to can load, and here we have totally opposite condition. If you are not logged in, redirect to login. If you are logged in, just return it's okay. You can continue to open the rest part of the application. If you want to, it's not the way of, it's just saying that I have a very detailed explanation of Angular Router from one of the conference in Israel, Angular App from 3 years ago. If you just Google Bartosz Pietrucha Angular Router, probably the first one would explain like the whole conference talk about Angular Router, just to let you know. The next idea, we are putting more puzzles in our landscape of this role-based authorization system. HTTP interceptor. And now, if we use cookies, because we can use different mechanisms, right? Both mechanisms are applicable in different scenarios. Cookies are good, for example, in one approach. JSON Web Tokens are good in different approach. We can discuss this later on, but this is not the case on this slide. Here, when we use tokens, we don't want to manually add these tokens every time we request something which requires authorization. We can use HTTP interceptor, which coming from Angular, the request coming out from Angular would have this proper token attached to the request. So here we have method intercept, and every request coming in, we'll check if we have a token available. Then we will attach this token and continue with the next action in the chain, because interceptors are like a chains that invoke each other, because we can have multiple interceptors, and this is a chain that invokes one element after another. So we continue that we can add the token automatically with HTTP interceptor. And this is from the front-end perspective, right? This is from the front-end perspective. From the back-end perspective, we can do similar thing. We want to check in some more clean way those authorization rules that we learned in the previous slides. And in this case, you can think of Express.js middleware. We use Node, we use Express.js, which is like a framework for making those REST API a little bit easier to develop. And you can say that this Angular interceptor is some way logically similar to Express.js middleware. We are going to run them in everything that is after up URL. So this is our, again, danger zone that we are going to protect it. This is a very similar concept. So in this case, for example, let's think about our example with budgets and expenses. We have, for example, expenses, and we know that in this case, we want to check the role. And the question is, does the user have the reader role? Because reader only reads. We'll see the details. But here we just attach to the route some checks. And here we have a different vector of authorization. We have put. In this case, we want to edit the expense with the given ID. So does this entity, does this expense belongs to the user's account? So we just attach this check, and on this level, when we design this REST API, we delegate it to the proper middlewares. And how this middleware may look like. It works in a similar fashion. It's just a chain of functions that invoke each other one after another, having this request object. So we take this, we return these functions that accepts request, response, and the next function, because we need to call next once we once we check everything. So we get the user, we get expense ID, and we ask expense repository, give me please this expense with this expense ID. Once we have this expense, we are going to check account ID from this expense if it matches with the user's account ID. If they match, we are good to go. We call next. There might be some other middleware to evoke, but if it's not matching, we say, sorry, response status 403 JSON, you are not authorized to perform this operation. This is going to happen on the backend, right? So this is one of those permission checks. Wow, guys. Do you have any questions up until now? I'm gonna just take one breath to get my focus back. See if we have some questions up until now. And I will look at Instagram. You guys really want this cup. You guys really want this cup. We are going to find a winner soon. Pretty good slide. Oh, maybe I will do this. Like this. Wow, so many comments. Paul says, that was excellent. I just learned so much. Thank you. Pretty good slides. Which is better? Mikhailo, nothing is better. They are both applicable in different scenarios. When you have a single domain with the same origin, definitely cookies are your way to go. But when we think about modern applications, when there are different services on the different domains and there is same origin policy, that would make it impossible for you to use cookies. And then you would have to use JSON Web Tokens when you have different services on the different domains, on the totally different places. And same origin policy is number one security means in the modern web that would break it or make it. So depending on your idea or on your landscape, you would use JSON Web Tokens or cookies. Okay, let's continue. We'll have also, I just needed to get some brief, guys, to continue with the slides because we will also have a lot of time on the Q&A session. But here, I want to show you something which I call conditional components visibility. So once we have all those things put together that we learned before, we want to have a smart way of showing particular UI parts. For example, on the right side, you see that John is logged in, and John is a owner, and he can add new expenses. So basically, every time you want to render the UI, you do ngIf and ask for the role and so on and so on. What I propose to you is, what is your Instagram account? You want to win the cup? You are welcome, my friend. You can go to this Instagram. You know the rules. Follow, like the image with the cup, and tag your friend, and we'll find the winner. So coming back to this slide, I don't want to every time run all these checks to see if John can see the plus button, right? So I want to write a directive, which I call for roles directive, that is going to check if that user has the role that is inside of the roles that this UI element is designed for. So if you look on the right side, I have button, and I have structural directive for roles, and I have owner. It means that only owner can have this button rendered. So what I would do in for roles directive, I would somehow manipulate this list to have this properly prepared. And then I would ask auth service, get user role, subscribe, and check if the user who is currently logged in and the role that is attached to that person is inside of those allowed roles. And in this case, if it's there, I would create and render this view. Otherwise, I would clear this part from the UI. So I would write this once, and then whenever I want to have this conditional components visibility, I will attach for roles directive and list the roles that I want to allow the renderer to place on this template. How do you find this? Have you ever seen this approach with? Because what you would do, you would normally need to check, do some ng ifs, and so on and so on. Here we are just wrapping this repetitive stuff and in creating structural directive. Let me know in the comments if you have seen this, if it's useful, if it's not useful. I wanted to sip water, but I just learned that this is empty, so I don't have water. But at least we have some time to look at the comments. That is really cool. Thank you, Claudio. I also find it really nice because it's the idea of reusing already written code rather than just having this spaghetti every time on the template. Anna says, very good. Definitely using a directive is much cleaner. Great, guys. I love this tool that allows me to show the comments. It makes me feel that I'm not alone. I can just show a couple of your comments. Patrick says, agreed. Welcome, Patrick. So basically, this tool makes me feel that I'm not that alone, because you guys are all around the world, over 100 people. So thank you. Good vibes. Okay, let's continue. And here's the bonus, right? I told you that because we have learned a lot of pieces that when we put together in your app, you can see the source code of the whole app after the presentation. We'll have fairly stable and secure system. But here, I want to show you a couple of other ideas. For example, when you have those brute force bad guys who are trying to guess the password, every possible character combination, or they have some dictionary. And what we want to do in our system is, after, let's say, 3 failed logins, we want to block the user for a given of time, let's say 10 minutes, and present to him or to her, you cannot log in, you have to wait 10 minutes. And after this 10 minutes, we will allow again. So how can we easily actually implement it in our system? So here on the right side, you see if I type too many times the wrong password, I would be blocked. So what I propose is so-called login throttler. This login throttler is going to be implemented on our backend. And when we need to bake this throttler in our login logic. So whenever we know who is trying to log in, we ask the login throttler, because the login throttler would remember who is blocked. Is this login blocked, providing the email of the person who is trying to log in? If it's blocked, if it's not blocked, if it's blocked, we say, okay, there's the game over. We throw exception. Please try again. You are not allowed to log in. But in case it's not yet blocked, we would compare the passwords. If they match, we, for example, return JSON Web Token. If we use JSON Web Tokens, we say login successful. But in case of login failure, if those passwords don't match, we bump our login throttler with one more failure. We say login throttler, register login failure for that email and reject the promise, right? So here we just bake in this login throttler, and in case of login failure, we want to bump the counter saying register login failure for that email. So this is how we can change a little bit of our login. Two-step verification is something different, but the login throttler would have 2 input parameters. Max failures, in our case, is 3, and time window. How long should we suppress the login? So we have two methods, like is login blocked and register login failure. Is login blocked is supposed to give us an answer. Is this user with the given email now suppressed from logging in? So we'll get login failures, get last failures, and we have 3 last failures. And then we say if the number of failures is greater than the possible max failures in these inputs, what we are going to do, we are going to check the time. Here's some magic in the time, but you can see it in the source code. We are checking how long ago was the last failed login. If it was longer than 10 minutes, as if we have in our setup, we can say, okay, you can log in. But if it was during the last 10 minutes, you are still and the number of failures is more than allowed ones, you are still blocked, right? We say resolve false, right? And then register login failure, it just takes the user email and says, at this point in time, with this new date, this user email should be considered as failed login trial. And this is just some database, right? Because some we can have this inside of any database. It can be SQL, NoSQL. I don't know what is on your backend, but login failures can host this state of this list of user emails used to login but failed, and the date. And if you implement it this way, you can have very robust but simple solution to implement login throttler. Patrick Mulot. Yes, where is this? Where do you store the state? You can see that there is login failures. From this login throttler, I don't care. I have this login failures, and I expect it to get last failures and register failed login with those parameters, right? And at this point of abstraction, I expect to have login failures with get last failures to retrieve it, and register failed login for the given user email and this current date, right? So you can probably implement login failures with some database. It's up to you, at least if you provide me with some state of this throttler. Patrick, does it answer your question? Because here we think about this logic of this throttler, not how we store it in the database. It's on the different level of abstraction. Patrick says, got it, so we can continue. My friends, demo time. I will make an impression that I'm drinking some water because I feel like I need it, but it's empty. This could be yours. Oh, let's look at the comments. You guys are crazy for this cup. One of you will receive it. Let's try to look at the demo. Now I need to switch a little bit my slides. So how do you like it so far, guys? We have over 100 people still with us, almost an hour. And if you're still with us, it means we are learning some cool stuff. Give me some thumb up if you like it, so that I feel like I'm doing some good job. In the meantime, I would try to switch the screen to the demo. Wow. You are doing great. Thank you. I'm really sorry. I cannot read Russian letters. I have no idea how to say your name. I'm sorry, but thank you for your warm comment. I really wished I knew how to pronunciate your name, but I don't wanna offend you. So thank you for such a nice comments. Oh, well explained. Thank you, Sidra. Please share a real code example. I will send you the link to the GitHub repo with everything that we learned, implemented, but even more. Thank you for the great stuff from Pakistan. Thank you. Igor, it's Igor. Nice to meet you, Igor. So probably now I can see how to pronunciate this NROPB. Can you see the demo with the login, with login with GitHub, login with Google, sign up, get identity. Fabian. So so let me try to log into our budget application to see how it works. My friends, I'm going to try to log in as Bartos at appcom123. And it says two-factor authentication. So it requires me to look at the Google Authenticator and type in the code. I have it properly set up. And now I'm opening Google Authenticator. And I'm going to tap in the security code, which is one-time password, just for me. It's you can see this code because it's one-time password and it's valid only for 30 seconds. 8433637. Okay, it says something because it's on localhost. We don't have to worry about those because Google Chrome thinks that there is a breach, but it's a local host and this is not any real issue. So what I did, I requested a login, but because of this user profile having double two-factor authentication with Google Authenticator toggled on, it on the backend side, there's a proper code that would request a one-time password that is valid only for 30 seconds, and it's just for me. And now you see that I am logged in. I have these expenses. I am the owner of this account. I have settings here. Let's try to log in and use John Appcom123. This account has not two-factor authentication enabled. We can go to settings and we can see two-factor authentication is disabled. And now we can see that we have two expenses in the category. It's Cinemax, KFC. I'm the owner and I can edit, I can delete it. And now I would log in to this account as a Mike role, Mike account, Mike user profile, to be more precise in our terminology, which is linked to the same account, but there are no those elements for edit because Mike is just a reader. How can I know that? Because if I go to user settings, I see user accounts. I can see John, who is the owner. I can see Mike, who is the reader, that is attached to the same account. So I go to login page again, type Mike at appcom and login. Now I see the same entities, the same budget category, the same expenses, but I cannot edit, I cannot delete it. And even if I tried to fake the front end in this way, that those buttons would would be available to click, or I would use Postman, or I would write my own front end and create a request to delete, update, or modify, there are proper checks implemented that would prevent this person to do this because the role is not proper for that kind of operation. So here, this is this application. This is the application, and now let me give you the links to the, or maybe later. I will give you the links to the whole source code with Angular in Node. There are a bunch of different features like login with Google, login with GitHub, get identity from Google with implicit flow. Those Google Authenticator implemented this with those one-time passwords, with two-factor authentication on the front end, on the back end, sign-up feature with confirmation, password recovery, everything is implemented there. And Paul says, extremely useful. Thank you very much. So you can see from the full stack perspective how to implement on the front end those login with GitHub, login with Google, get with using implicit flow, how to get identity. There are like, it's like covered from many different perspectives. And there's also the sign up with confirmation, and also we have the integration with Auth 0, which is like identity as a service that takes those things on into the cloud. They say that they are identity as a service, which is like a company that provides cloud services to manage users, to manage identity, authentication, and authorization, and this has everything implemented. So let me go back to the presentation, because probably we have wow, almost an hour. Guys, we have 3 more parts. Some announcement, lottery to win the cup, and Q&A session. I have long time to spend with you, so we can have very long Q&A session, but I say that there are 3 parts. Now I'm switching to the presentation to show you the slides. And here, guys, Matt, I will share with you the GitHub repo. Did you enjoy the whole? We spent almost 1 hour just playing around some cool stuff. The simple question, did you enjoy it? How do you find it? Just give me some feedback. I will again assume that I have some water. I should have the water here. I will drink later. Just how as the whole, this thing, this application, this concepts, this mechanisms, how did you like it? Just tell me. I'm gonna look at the comments. There is a delay. I don't know how long the delay is, but at least there was no crash, because sometimes when I do the workshop online, I suddenly get a crash of really good. I also checked your website, really good stuff. Thank you. This was very useful. Excellent, Bartosz. Thanks. Stanislav, thank you very much. So what I want to talk to you, because we have not even scratched the surface. This is a very complex world of web security, everything around. And what I want to say to you, I invite you to join me, because we start the program, which is called Web Security Academy, 12-week, to learn everything about web security, full stack web security, implement this with me, like with hands-on, every feature, to have secure role-based enterprise-based authorization. And we will put on top of that OAuth, OpenID Connect, Google Authenticator. We'll put Auth 0 integration and tons of different modules, bonuses in this program. And Web Security Academy is a missing element with web development space. It fills the gaps. It is divided into 12 weeks effective learning program. You need about 1 or 2 hours a week to be confident about web security, and provides you with most important theory so you understand stuff and coding practice. It has premium live support. I personally meet with students on Zoom or Google Meet, depending on our choice, and also Slack group, closed Slack group, where I help you with your struggles. And we have this closed group on Slack with, you know, all those integration with others, collaboration, and so on. So these are the pieces of Web Security Academy. It's 100% online. Lessons are in the form of on-demand videos. It's based on Internet Engineering Task Force standard. New materials appear every week. We meet online to discuss your progress, maybe check your questions or anything you need. And we have joint working group on the closed Slack channel with all the members. There are many people already from different editions that probably, if we have still a couple of people, guys, if you are still with us, Joseph or any other person who is already in the program because this is the fourth edition. There were 3 different editions last year, and I saw some names in the chat that are already, you guys, even though they have everything explained, they decided to come here and integrate and join and listen. I definitely saw Joseph and a couple of different names that are inside of our group, Slack, and the program. So you see that it's a proof that it is a good resource to master those topics. And everything in an extremely friendly and practical fashion, no BS. Here's the screenshot of one of our meetings. We have this kind of very nice atmosphere. We discuss problems, we challenge ideas, and this is super useful to see somebody else's perspective. And now, just after this speech, we are going to find the winner. Joseph is inside of the program. I didn't even ask him to say this. He says yes, 12-week program is very useful. I remember, Joseph, with your name and surname, because there are a lot of people, but we know each other because we meet on those sessions on Slack and so on. So actually, Joseph, thank you. I didn't ask you to do this. I mean, this is super cool from your side. Thank you very much. So it's not about just the knowledge. Knowledge is free, but it's scattered, it's distributed, it's fuzzy in any ambiguous forms. Searching for it, filtering, organizing, it takes a lot of time. What is all about, in my opinion, it's all about the knowledge that is curated, systematized, delivered in an interesting, easy, digestible way. A system and an amazing community with you, so you will never feel alone with the challenges during the learning process. And by the end of this program, you will have complete understanding of the entire web security model and fill all your knowledge gaps. You will learn security vulnerabilities and industry standards prevention methods. You will know how to implement ultra-secure role-based access control in a real-life application and master complexity of OpenID Connect and be able to implement different flows when applicable in the given context, because there are different flows in those approaches like OAuth, OpenID Connect securely. Let's briefly go through our program. Today, we are in the week 1, the big plan week. There are a couple of lessons that introduce the whole work, and we will have, not tomorrow, but on Friday. You can go to a website later on and see the agenda. On this Friday, we are going to meet on the first live to learn about our expectations, to meet the group, and start this fruitful 12 weeks. Then we need to talk about web security model, same origin policy, cross-origin resource sharing, hashes, nonces, sub-resource integrity, to have this basis to jump into client versus server security. We will talk about session versus tokens. Some of you were asking when to use tokens, when to use sessions, when to use cookies. Everything is explained with proof and the logic and the reasoning behind it, why I would recommend use tokens here, why I would recommend use sessions here, right? So this is covered in the program. Security vulnerabilities, OWASP top 10, cross-site scripting, JSON web token hacking, different vulnerabilities. And then after the week 4, we have the meeting to sum up what we learn. We will probably meet on Zoom or Google Meet. It's probably nothing that differs in those 2 platforms. Probably Google Meet. And then, most importantly, we are in the different time zones. This time, we will have a doodle to find the day and time that fits most of you. Then once we have these fundamentals, we will start to design our role-based access control, application architecture, secure parts of the application to implement step-by-step those core features like login feature in Angular, login feature in Node, sign-up feature in Angular, sign-up feature in Node. We will use router guards and HTTP interceptors. Then we will jump into client security implementation. Content security policy, XSS, UserAuth object. And then week 8, API security implementation, server-side session, login access, throttling logins, input sanitization and validation, preventing unauthorized requests, roles and account management in week 9, adding a new user, confirming a new user for the given account, password recovery, active sessions management, removing logged users, then to jump and have, again, meeting on Google Meet or Zoom. We'll find the time that fits most of you to just discuss the progress, find the questions, answer for your questions, and maybe discuss your own solution. I love to hear your solution. I love to help you. I spent the whole year creating this program, and you see the people who are happy inside. Then once we sum up this, we will jump into so-called external authentication. We'll start understanding OAuth. What are the different flows? What are the security measures behind or inside? Not behind, but inside OAuth 2.0, because 2.1 is ahead. Then we will use authorization code flow with Pixie, proof key for code exchange. We'll see when we have ID token, access token. Then we'll add OpenID Connect protocol on the top of that. Once we have it, we will use Google Authenticator to have two-factor authentication, how to set up properly two-factor authentication, how to use those one-time passwords. Then to jump into external user management, what is federated identity management, single sign-on. We'll see what are different themes, what is this identity as a service, and we will implement externalizations of those auth features. So after that, we'll have another Q&A session. But it's not enough. I want to give tons of value. We have amazing module about Firebase security from Jeff Delaney from Fireship YouTube channel. He's super popular, and he agreed to collaborate with me on that. He has its own module to show you about security in Firebase. Super cool. Then we have another module, GDPR and legal guide. When you create systems with personal data, you need to know how to deal with them. What is privacy policy? Terms and condition. What you must do for legal compliance. It was created with a lawyer. Then we have the WebSocket security module. Security testing, penetration testing, how we can automatically try to find security vulnerabilities in our application with proper tooling. Then maybe in some of the future editions, because this is an idea, if you would like it, recent security attacks debrief, how recent big companies were hacked and how it could have been prevented. Just like, and what the strategies can we use, the strategies that could have been used to prevent hacks and save millions of dollars. And the next module can be based on your topic. I hear your voice, I hear your feedback, and constantly try to improve this program. That's the result. Okay, guys, this is the last slide before our couple of slides more before a giveaway. So what is inside the Academy? 12-week learning program, all the bonus modules, at least Q&A, 3 Q&A sessions, live. Show your code, show your stuff. I want to help you. 12 weeks of premium support during the program. We can talk on Slack. Access to the closed community of developers learning together. Matchmaking session on Friday, this Friday. We're going to meet on Google Meet this Friday because we close the registration soon. I will tell you when. We have English captions that can be easily translated to any language. After that, you will have a certificate of graduation. You can put it on your resume. And most importantly, this is why Joseph is here with us. You have free of charge lifetime access to the materials and future updates and additions. This is lifetime deal. It's priceless. Joseph didn't pay for the next editions. He joined, I don't remember in which edition, but one of the previous editions, and is still inside. And when I add new modules, when we grow the content, the program, you guys can benefit once you join today to this program. Oh, guys, what do you think should be the price? How much would you pay for a guy, an expert engineer, to spend an hour with you, for example? I mean, I'm asking about the whole price, the whole stuff, like package. like the lifetime access, the coaching session, Q&A session, Slack support, all the videos. Just I want to see your comments. What do you think is the fair price for this service when you are going to like have a massive investment in your skills? Stanislav says 700. Joseph says 300. So I would say, Stanislav, you are almost hit, because if we look at this, if you divide the price for the week, so it's just $50 per week. How much? What would you spend $50 a week? 1 hour of private lessons, single tennis class, or maybe one crazy night out on Friday with friends when you spend a lot of money on beers, on pizza maybe. This is just $50 per week. You can join right now and invest in your skills under websecurity-academy.com. You can pay 1,000 to me. Paul, you can pay 1,000 up until Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can join this lifetime deal, lifetime membership for $597. It's still a deal because you pay once and you have a lifetime access. I actually, my friend, you can pay me $1,000. You can pay me $999. But today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, because we have 2 days to get most interested people, meet on Friday, and you can join right now. Pay once, get a lifetime access for $597, which actually gives you $50 a week for 12 weeks. Wow, I hope that I presented you how much value. If somebody thinks it's like if you earn $60 per hour, let's think about 49 minutes of work to get a week of this stuff. How much do you spend? How much time do you spend Googling, learning, struggling to implement properly everything? What is more cost effective? You even have more. You have the system, you have the community. This is still of a deal. And here's the landscape of our system that summarizes what you have. You have this 12 weeks, you have tons of bonuses, and we progress week by week. It is like theory and coding labs on those couple of first weeks. Then you have this budget application implementation, and then we actually plug in those external systems integration like Google, GitHub, Google Authenticator, Auth0, and just read go to the page, web security. I should have done this. I should have say web security - academy.com. Registration is open. This is our first week, which is the registration week. Read what others say. Actually, to be honest, Joseph, thank you one more time. I didn't expect you to hop in and tell such a cozy and warm words. I didn't expect that, really. But there are a couple of people who agreed to put their testimonials on the website. And registration closes in 2 days at 8 p.m. GMT, strict, because the next day we have our first live meeting. So the 28th of January, we definitely close, like nobody goes inside. We have the group, we meet each other the next day on 29th of January, and then the whole stuff, the whole party begins, and it lasts for many, many, many weeks. And you have two choices. You can do nothing, do not risk, we are good. And you can take action, learn a lot, but risk money. Actually, you don't risk anything because I give you 30-day money back guarantee. If during the first 30 days, you come to the conclusion that, this is not to me, this is not for me, just write me an email. Just tell me what is the reason. it would be good to tell me what is the reason. I would like to know, and just I will give you the money back, no strings attached. So let's sum up. This is the last slide, and we'll have the winner. 20-week learning program, all the bonuses, at least three Q live sessions, 12 weeks of premium support, access to closed community, matchmaking session on Friday, this Friday, English captions that you can translate to any language, certificate of graduation, and most importantly, free of charge lifetime access. We run this program every couple of months, and right now we start edition number 4. So I wish I had some water, but I should find a person who is going to win this cup. This is the end of my pitch. I hope that I would be able to work with you, and we are going to meet in Academy. But right now, by the way, write a comment. What do you think about this proposition? And we'll give away the cup, and then we will have a Q&A session. We're going to have as much time for your questions, as much time you need. So I'm not the Instagram guy. I'm going to look at Instagram to see how can I randomly pick. Maybe on my phone, I will try to randomly pick a winner. And after that, we give it away. But you have to be online. If you are not online and you don't say it's me, we will look for another person. Where is my Instagram? You guys are crazy. I cannot even... So many likes, notifications. Okay, I have my phone. I'm gonna read I'm gonna type the first person who I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find that person. I'm trying to make it like I'm scrolling through the comments. Do we have... Oh shit. Do we have Mr. I'm gonna type here. Do we have Mr. Adam Tabasco? Yes? Mr. Adam? Let's look at the chat. The person who took part in our contest. Do we have Mr. or he already left? Mr. Adam, are you with us? Yes, he says he's. Congratulations. Just send me a DM with your shipping address and I will send you. Where are you from? I'm going to ship it from Europe, from Poland. Where are you located, Mr. Adam? Bravo. Let's congratulate Mr. Adam. Where are you? Mr. Adam, I know you are here. Can you tell us which country this cup is going to be shipped? And then you send me your detailed address. Slovakia. It's not far away from Poland, so it should be fairly fast delivered. Just give some bravo to Adam. By the way, guys, Patrick says, congrats. Thanks a lot. Guys, now it's time for Q&A session. anything that you need to know about the concepts that we learned about the role-based. Congratulations, Adams. Bravo. So anything that you want to ask about the stuff that we have learned during this session, anything, token sessions, implementation. I need to give you the if you go to my GitHub profile, guys, now the sources you can find GitHub is the same as my Instagram, github.com. It's similar. It's this. There are pinned repositories with this stuff. So if you go to GitHub Bartosz IO, you can find pinned repositories with this stuff that we have learned. And if you have questions regarding this, it's time to do this. Then we can discuss anything about the program. I have a lot of time. Joseph Serrano. And we have 3 more cups. First, 3 people who join Web Security Academy would receive this cup. So first 3 people who join the program, because you can think we have like about 2 days left to think about it, if it's for you, if it's not for you. But first 3 people who join and then send me a shipping address receive Web Security, I build secure apps, Ninja cup. First 3 people receive this cup shipped to the door of the apartment. I will get some water. Now, guys, Łukasz says congrats. So again, GitHub link. Now it's time for questions and answers. I'm all yours. We have some people left who maybe want to ask questions about the content of the presentation or the program. We have found the winner, and we say that there are 3 more people who receive this cup for free. The first 3 people who join the program. You have time to discuss. Maybe. By the way, I didn't say most important thing. We have some nice guys. If you go, because I have not added it. If your company is sponsoring you, I have a brief note to your manager that you can show, or your employer, you can show. If you go to websecurityacademy.com/company PDF, there is like a small brief manager's quote why it is worthwhile to invest in this program from the perspective of a company, right? That they can have more skills in the team. They don't have to put people away from the projects. We are working online. It's mentorships and support for the developer. So basically, these are from the perspective of manager. Download this PDF, send it to your manager, and say that this is how you want to spend your training budget. This is how I believe can be useful. Mr. Nabin, if you don't stop spamming, you are going to be banned. Because I see you're sending the same comment all the time. I'm sorry, I need to ban you. Okay, we have some spammer that was blocked. I hope that he would not break our flow. Guys, okay, Q&A session. Patrick says, thanks a lot, Bartosz. It was really great session. Now I'm going to pick the questions. What is the required background and the knowledge to participate in Web Security Academy? There is also this addressed on the website, but I assume that you are at least junior developer. At least you can write some JavaScript. You know what is HTML. You know what is backend, that there is a REST API. So you don't have to be senior. I would say if you are a junior developer, of course you can be on the higher skills level, but basically the minimum level to benefit, I would say you have to be at least junior to be able to write simple stuff. Johan, does this answer your question? Yes, the code from the slides is the budget node and budget Angular repos that are pinned to the profile. Do you guys have more questions? I don't know why we had this spammer, but this tool allows me to block. Mark, okay, what is the difference between JS and TS? TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript that has types, that has more features, that has type safety, that has much more tooling that it makes convenient for developers to write software. But in production, this TypeScript code is compiled to JavaScript so that the browser can understand this code. Just wanted to say thank you for this presentation, and I will maybe join your program in the future. Wish you the best. Thank you. Johan, sorry. Perfect. Thanks. Guys, so now is the time to have, maybe I will look here. By the way, Mr. Adam, who won the cup, don't forget to send me a DM on Instagram with your detailed shipping address so that I can send you this. Wow, it's an hour and a half almost of the live stream. I still don't have water, but I will drink something later on. Guys, any more questions? Do you cover state management? In Web Security Academy, we don't cover state management because this is a totally different topic that is not so related to security. So I would say no, this is not the topic that is covered in the program. Maybe in some other program we will cover state management, but in Web Security Academy, we focus on specific things that I explained to you previously when we talked about agenda. It's 12 weeks of... Oh, I'm sorry, Antonio. Can you speak in? Can you type in English? Then I would at least be able to answer what you are asking about. There was yet another spammer. I blocked him. You said 12 weeks. Igor says you said that 12 weeks, 2 hours per week. What does this? So the videos, the videos that are released every week are about 1 hour, sometime an hour and a half. So imagine that you spent an hour and a half for videos, and then maybe half an hour on homework or implementation task or whatever you want to practice, right? So at least 1 hour, maybe an hour and a half for videos. Maybe sometimes you want to make notes. Then maybe half an hour for the task, the coding task, the assignment task that is inside of the given module. But also on the top of that, this does not include, first of all, bonus modules that are released according to the schedule. So those 2 hours, what I include by that inside this is this base time for the videos that are released every Monday. So again, an hour, maybe an hour and a half of the videos, and some half an hour for the coding task. It may take you more time than that, but this is the baseline. Then this 2 hours does not include bonus modules that are released according to the schedule. And this does not include the time spent on live Q&A sessions, because those live Q&A sessions are not mandatory for you to get the most of the content. You can learn solo, you can learn alone. It's not, there is going to be everything in the program that you can do this on your own. Those live sessions are for you to join, to discuss, to ask questions, to alleviate all your doubts, and maybe discuss with others. Thank you for everything. You are an amazing speaker. Thank you. I got some experience in conferences, on the different events. So live meeting is something different, but I appreciate your comment. Thank you very much. So Igor, did I answer your question when it comes to the time? Mark asks, what IDE? Nice, thanks. What IDE will be used better? I use PHP Storm. I use VS Code. Actually, I love this VS lightweight VS Code. This is my IDE of choice, but maybe others have different preferences. But this is my preference because I love this tool. It's lightweight and powerful enough. Are there more questions? Okie dokie. I look at the comments. Mark says, okay, thanks. VS Code is the best. Nice, thanks. How long in total is the video of content presented on this program? Whoa, having those modules. Okay, so as I said, it may be an hour or an hour and a half. Let's take it an average 1 hour per module. So the base 12 weeks is 12 hours, approximately on average 1 hour a week. But we have tons of bonuses, and bonuses sometimes last an hour, sometimes a little bit less than an hour, but I try to fit about 1 hour average per module. So when you think about a module, it will oscillate something around 1 hour. So you take the number of modules that are available in the program, and you and you have the number of hours approximately, right, that the whole program is composed of, right? So the baseline is 12 hours, because approximately one module in the base program would have 1 hour. But then we have those bonuses. For now, we have 4 of them, as far as I remember. And one of them could be 1 hour. One of them would be a little bit longer than an hour. One could be 40 minutes. One could be 55 minutes. It would somehow oscillate, but usually those bonus modules are a little bit less longer than the baseline modules, right? Because we have 12 bonus modules. They are on average 1 hour, hour and a half. Bonus modules are on hour, a little bit less than an hour, sometimes 40 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes. They oscillate about an hour, but they are usually shorter than the baseline modules. So you can easily calculate based on the number of modules how much content is there inside. One more congratulations to Adam. Any other more questions? Don't forget to send this PDF to your manager if you have a training budget under company.pdf. Okay, I have Adam DMing me with the shipping address. So I hope that when I ship it as soon as possible, it will be delivered to Slovakia very soon. Okay, thank you. Do you know any other kind of text editor like Atom or Brackets, and what do you think about them? I don't know. I don't use them. I use VS Code, and to be honest, I cannot tell you anything about those editors. I have never used Atom. I have never used Brackets, so I cannot tell you anything about any of those editors. We can see VS Code is the best. Okay, guys. So it's hour and a half. Unless you have more questions, you can also reach out to me later on. But for today, I want to thank you very much. I hope to see you on program. Mind the deadline because it's strict. We are going to have amazing time together. One more time, thank you very much. I hope to see you soon somewhere over the internet. Bye. Don't forget that we have 3 more cups to give away for first 3 people who hop on board the Academy.